But I'm sure that was his point, to show, listen, all these black folks, they, screaming, hooping, and hollering, and they ain't got a clue what they hooping and hollering about. They just voting because he black. And, I have some family members that would agree with that comment. My brother included, brother Jeremy, but yes. But at least be educated. At least have an idea. Even if you're voting for him because he's black, at least have an idea what the man supports, who he is, what he's about. I think everybody owes it to themselves to at least know who you're voting for, regardless of who you want to vote for. President Obama, Mitt Romney, whatever your choice. Apparently, Roseanne Barr is running too, so she's gonna at least be a write-in candidate, I'm sure.
What?
So. Yeah, Roseanne Barr is run. That is how you say her name, right? The comedian, right? Roseanne Barr.
That's it.
Yeah, apparently she's gonna, do a little presidential election thing. But whatever. We all know nobody's voting for her. But
somebody go vote.
Well,
for
somebody go vote for her. But
they go like, oh, it'd be funny if Roseanne was president.
Yeah,
right.
She'd be hilarious.
She'd be funny.
But
we at war. She doesn't know what to do, but she's funny.
Exactly. 407-894-1680. So yeah, please register to vote, number one, and if you haven't done that already, make sure you get registered. And then number two, please educate yourself. And remember, it's not just the president that's up for election this time. There are a lot of local races going on as far as your local Florida Congress, your House and Senate for Florida Congress. They got candidates for that. Don't forget you got candidates that are running to be in the Congress in Washington, D.C. There's Senate and congressional candidates for that as well. So, educate yourself on whomever is going to be eligible for you to vote for in your district before you go out and vote. At least have an idea beyond what color they are when you go into the booth. I think it's a little bit more important than color. Is that right, Brother Jeremy?
My blackness won't allow me to answer that question.
Oh my God.
I know Miss McCraig agrees with me.
I agree. It is more than color. Crazy Jeremy.
So in relation to voting, clowns. 407-894-1680. Remember, that's the number to join these conversations. 407-894-1680 is the number here at the studio to join these conversations. Also, remember, you can find us at RealFamilyTalk.weebly.com. RealFamilyTalk.weebly.com. Now, the big issue that's going on, and I think our guest should be joining us sometime soon here. Of course, a lot of people complaining about different voter, or at least perceived voter suppression laws, as they're being referenced, that are going on within a lot of different states. Of course, there's one in particular here as well. They're referenced as voter suppression laws, but at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is hold people accountable to show some kind of identification before they're allowed to cast their vote. Which is something new, because typically you just pretty much show up, you tell them who your name is, you sign, and then you do your voting. There's no identification really necessary. And so there's a lot of people up in arms about the situation. I'll just give my opinion. I'm going to throw it out here, and you guys can tell me what you think. Remember, 407-894-1680 is the number. My humble opinion is this. Now, I understand that there's a lot of different states, and every state has a different rule. But personally, I don't have a problem with the idea of showing an ID to vote. And for me, it's very simple. Yes, it's your right to vote, but it's also your right to smoke cigarettes. It's also your right to drink alcohol. And for those things like alcohol and cigarettes, which is very meaningless in terms of a person's life, and affecting their life, you can go to the same store 15 times in a day, and every single time they're required to ask you to verify who you are. Clearly, if you are going to vote, which is going to have an effect on people's lives long term, I think it's at least easy to say, can you show me some ID to prove who you are? I don't think that's, out. It's 2012. most people have an ID. The laws have been out long enough for if you didn't have an ID, you could go get one for the most part. And if you can't go get an ID, there are other things in place to still allow you to be able to meet the requirements and still go out and vote. So to ask for an ID, I think is a simple thing that in 2012 can be accomplished. That's my opinion. I see our guest is on the line. How you doing tonight, Jasmine?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you hear my comments right there, Jasmine?
I did hear your comments about the IDs.
All right. I know you want to comment. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say is that, yes, they have been given enough time to acquire an ID. I think a lot of people are just curious as to what the ID will do when they get to the voting polls. Are they looking for my name, or are they looking for my address? What is this ID going to do for me, and what will it do to stop me from voting? I think that's more of the concern, not a matter of just going out and getting an ID. It's what is this ID going to be used for, and how will it be used when I get into the polls?
All right. So that's the concern. What are you guys thinking over here, panel? I see you're looking at me, Miss McCray. She's shaking her head.
Once again, I can't believe J. Real has this mindset. It is voter suppression. This is for older Americans and the poor, discriminating against them. Not everybody has an ID. As much as we would like to think so, not everybody has an ID. And so you're cutting out all these people who don't have one.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something, Jasmine?
Yeah, they're cutting out people who don't have ID, and they're also cutting out people who don't have access to the polls. Now that they've shortened the amount of days to get there, that's a huge impact. That extra day means a lot for some people, especially that Sunday before.
Especially Sunday. Now, what is Sunday geared towards? Black folks. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Sunday before is usually the Souls to the Polls Sundays, where pastors dismiss everyone from church at the end of service, and they all caravan over to the polls to do their voting. And it's during early voting. That's when you have the opportunity to go to the closest voting precinct in your district that is doing early voting. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about finding your precinct or making sure you're in the right place. You can vote anywhere you want to vote on that specific Sunday after church service.
Now, who are they targeting by taking that away?
African Americans. We're the ones who get out of church and go straight to the polls. It's a direct indicator that they are targeting African Americans for sure.
It's blatant discrimination.
Clearly.
I mean, let's be honest. Now, while
we're being honest, sir.
Right, we're being very honest and truthful.
Now, while okay, I'm sure there's some truth in the sense that there's a lot of African Americans. 407-894-1680 is the number if you want to comment on this. 407-894-1680. Now, while that may be true, a lot of African Americans dismiss church. I remember even this year. For the voting that took place in August. I can attest that the pastor had service, and once service was done, he was like, all right, y'all, let's get together, let's go vote. So I can agree that, pastors will do that in terms to encourage their congregation to go vote. But to suggest that a single law was created to purposely prevent black folks from going to the vote on Sunday. Like, okay, I understand. No.
Yes.
What do you think they were doing when they was saying you had to pass a literacy test? When they said you had to be able, those are the same type of laws. Why you think just because it's 2012, they have got gentler and kinder now, and they're above passing laws that they know are going to disproportionately affect us?
It's not a suggestion, though. There's already been a study that was done by a professor at University of Florida who put the information, crunched the numbers together, and did research that went past 2008's election to determine that African Americans do vote in larger numbers on that Sunday before the polls. So it's not something we're coming up with and just saying. It's a study that's already been done. There's research that backs this up.
Thank you.
Well, the research backs up the idea that they go vote, but it doesn't prove that the legislation was purposely created to prevent them from voting.
Uh-huh.
That's so, because in order for that to be valid, I wonder, the question becomes, did the study get created after the approval of the law, or was the study created prior to the law? Someone was able to then go out and study this particular study and then go, you know what? I think then what we need to do is purposely cut out the days to shorten it so that we can make sure that these people are prevented from going to vote. That would be purposely voter suppression. But the idea that it was cut out simply because, come on.
But I think,
I'm just saying.
I don't necessarily think they didn't know this already. Just because a study got published by a professor from a university doesn't mean this information wasn't already gathered somewhere and somebody knew it.
I agree. I agree.
Somebody probably already knew it. Obviously somebody had to go and prove it, wanted to go and prove it, but I believe they know exactly. They know exactly what they were doing when they create any laws. They know exactly what they're doing. When they do this and cut Medicaid, they know exactly how many people they chopping off the block so they can save X amount of dollars. So I believe it's the same type of situation.
And they knew this statistic before, but what really scared them to make it the suppression now is our turnout in 2008. They don't want that to happen again. That's what's scaring them. So, yeah, they made this stuff up just for that reason. They looked at our turnout in 2008 and said, wait a minute, it's the same guy. These same people can be energized again. We're going to block them.
Yep.
That's what it's about.
Another factor to add to that is that they had the year 2010 when we had a very low voter turnout. That was able to catapult their plan to another level because we didn't show up, which means that other groups were able to elect the people that they really wanted to go in place or in those particular positions. They got into those positions, and then they created laws through our legislature that were able to be passed because they had enough, members to represent the same ideas that they believed in, and they were able to pass these laws. If we would have voted in 2010, as a result, we wouldn't have not had the same legislators who passed these laws in 2010.
Yes, we fell asleep.
So everybody fell asleep. Now we got all these crazy laws that are meant to prevent us from voting again.
Exactly.
Prevent us from voting and confuse us.
Yes.
Is anybody confused though?
Yeah,
I think the confusion doesn't come from, I don't think the confusion comes from when you can vote because, at the end of the day, yes, there may be a lot of people, like you said, that go to the church, after church, on that Sunday. That may be true. But what I don't believe is that by preventing them from being able to have that Sunday, that's somehow going to discourage people from going to vote. I think those that are serious about wanting to go vote, which I think there'll still be quite a few number of people that will go out and support President Obama. I don't see that number, especially in the black community and the minority community, dropping off significantly. But they will, they will have to find alternative methods to accomplish that. It can't be done on the Sunday prior, at least in most counties anyway. So it can't be done on the county Sunday prior. Maybe they'll have to work it in that Tuesday of the day of, or they'll have to work it in on one of the other early voting days that are out there. But, I don't see how this one law is going to somehow decrease the number of African Americans, minorities voting, especially when we're talking about voting for President Obama. If you're fired up about it, you're going to find a way to vote. And so, one law doesn't somehow suppress you or decrease your ability to be able to do that. Because if you really want to, you will, regardless of what day is or isn't available for you to early vote.
Yeah, it is true, but the election's just not about the people who are really fired up. It's about the people that's fired up trying to get the people who are not fired up, because those are the ones important. Those are the ones that's going to push it over the edge. Mm-hmm. So it is very important for us to do everything to get those, and it's those people who these laws a lot of times affect. That was very eloquently stated.
He's patting himself on the back. Mr. King, I know you got something to say over there, the mouthpiece.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but, they've had years of studies to try to figure out, black people and their moves and their motives and when they're going to do what. So I completely agree. I really feel like they did this just to prevent black people from voting. But at the same time, it's still inevitable that President Obama is going to serve a second term, no matter what.
Amen.
I mean, it's still inevitable. I mean, who is going to vote for Mitt Romney after this video and after all of this other hoopla? Nobody's going to vote for him. He don't even want to vote for himself. I mean, but they still have, they got cases in, I think it was in Ohio, where they were trying to prevent some students from voting because they didn't put their dorm number on their registration. Something like that happened.
It's a lot of things. That's another way this law is affecting a lot of, I don't know if it's necessarily here in Florida.
The youth.
But a lot of states where kids in college would be prohibited from voting because they don't consider a college ID valid and because it doesn't have an address on it.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree. There's certainly some voter laws out there that are will have a negative impact. But the core, for those states that are trying to keep it, pretty streamlined and not taking it to the extreme, which there's a lot of court cases going on that are blocking some of the aspects. I know it happened in Texas where they blocked some of the more stricter aspects of their voter ID law to prevent them from, discriminating against college students and things of that nature. And so hopefully those things will continue to happen prior to the November and, kind of prevent some of these heavy restrictions that are really kind of ridiculous, especially when you're talking about a college student who's in Ohio, but he's from Florida. Right. So clearly he's not going to have a proper Ohio ID. And so there still should be no reason why he shouldn't vote because he didn't have the proper Ohio ID. So there are some things out there that are definitely in place. But the general idea, I don't think there's anything wrong with the general idea of an ID to show you vote. Like I say, you have an ID just to get a pack of cigarettes. There's nothing wrong with showing an ID to prove that you are, Jeremy, if you will.
Yes,
I just don't see that. I just don't see that. You were going to say something, Jasmine?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say I agree. There's nothing wrong with showing an ID because I wouldn't want to go into a polling place and someone just give a name and they given my name. I've then lost the opportunity to vote for the candidate I felt was someone I would like to have in office to represent me. So I see nothing wrong with showing the ID.
And I think that's really what happened after the Bush situation that happened. I think that's the main reason that people want to see an ID now. A lot of dead people were voting oddly. And now it's like, okay, I think that kind of prevents that from happening.
Correct.
Exactly, and I think that's the overall point. I don't really think, I am pro-black, but regardless of what you think I say or don't say.
Really? Really?
That is
say
my
what?
mindset. That truly is my mindset. But I do think, like I said, President Obama is up on the ballot. He's a black man. And as blacks, obviously, for the most part, we want him to, succeed and serve as many terms as he can. If he can change the laws and get a third term in there, we'd be like, yes. Well, some of us anyway. But I think, I think we have to be careful in that fine line, and letting our emotions sort of get the best of us sometimes, and thinking that every single thing that they're doing is all about, ruining his opportunity to lead us again. At the end of the day, no law is going to ruin his opportunity to lead the people again. It's very simple. Either you're going to, if a rule is created, you're going to step up, meet the rule, and then 2, after that, you're going to make sure you get to a poll at some point during the voting period, and cast your vote to ensure that the guy you want running the country is there. And I don't think there's a law that can be created to truly prevent that from happening. But again, as voters, it's our responsibility to not just go and vote, but it's our responsibility to go and educate ourselves as to what's going on. Because you're right, it doesn't matter if President Obama was up for re-election or if it was President Biden, if you will. These same laws were going to be in place. They were going to still put all of these things in place to ensure that people are doing their due diligence. Mm-hmm. This is not a law created for President Obama. This is a law created to hopefully ensure the right people are going to vote and cast their ballot. And so it'd be in place regardless of who the candidate was. It has nothing to do with the candidate, which is where I think we get lost.
I totally disagree. No, because this whole, just like Mr. King was saying, when those numbers were counted and everything, there were all types of flaws in those voter votes that were counted. This is strictly because it's President Barack Obama. Strictly because it's President Barack Obama and African Americans who have risen up from the dead in 2008 and made a difference. That's what this is about. These laws would not be in place if it was Charlie Crist running.
Yeah, the timing is quite questionable.
Very questionable. I can't believe you said that. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. Never mind. Never mind.
You're going to say something, Jeremy?
Well, my thing is this, 407-894-1680. Y'all call in and tell us what you think. Please call in. I know y'all have a lot of opinions out there. But my thing is this, I do agree with y'all. There's not necessarily something wrong. There's nothing wrong with having to show your ID. But I would say this. I think it should be a lot easier to obtain an ID. One, having to go to the DMV to get an ID, taken out, if you work every day, or maybe just don't really have transportation where you can get around like that. It's ridiculous. I think it just should be made easy. Something maybe can let's get the seniors to the front of the line so they don't have to wait. Hey, what's your name? Here's my birth certificate. Take a picture. Here you go. In and out, 15, 20 minutes. But, you be in there 3-4 hours sometimes, depending on what branch you go to, depending on what time. It's almost, it's really inconvenient to a certain extent. And then, true enough, if, like you say, if you wanted to wait, if you wanted to vote, you would wait. But it's not really realistic for everybody. That's my thing. I think anything that's in any kind of exclusionary with something that's our constitutional right, I think it's a problem with.
I agree. The process should be much easier. People shouldn't have to hassle with sitting in the office for so long, having to obtain a ID, and then having to pay astronomical amounts for whatever the reason may be. If it's an invalid ID, having to bring certain supporting documents to come in and verify that you've taken care of previous issues. There are a lot of complications that the DMV puts you through in order to obtain those IDs. And a lot of people can just gain access by simply retrieving a state of Florida identification card if they don't want to get a driver's license. And that process is a little bit easier, but it is still a lengthy procedure on obtaining an ID.
I hear you guys. Like I said, I'd love to hear what the people have to say. 407-894-1680. I just feel like I couldn't be the only person in America besides, I'm sure
the other Republicans. Yeah, you and the other Republicans feel the same way.
Besides me and what Ms. McCrae says, other Republicans. I know it's really bad white people.
hey, call it what it is. But
like I said, I think we're just being a little sensitive, as I think we've been consistently throughout President Obama's time in office, a little sensitive about everything that seems to surround us in relation to the president. And I think we need to kind of, I don't want to say, kind of grow a spine, if you will, a little bit, and just recognize that, these things are coming down the pike simply because they, Republicans are creating these rules, but they're created so that they can ultimately get more Republicans in office. And so they're coming down the pike regardless of who's there, because they're trying to sort of get the liberals, if you will, out of the picture so that they can kind of take advantage and mold things as they see to be back on track. So they're coming down the pipeline that has nothing to do with who's in office, who is voting, because there are a lot of uneducated voters that are not black. So it's not about blacks. There's a lot of uneducated voters that are Hispanic, a lot of uneducated voters who are white, that don't, again, just like those people in Harlem that I was referencing earlier, they have no clue that Osama bin Laden's dead or what the religion of the candidates are, or even care for that matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
So, they're just there because somebody told them this guy was the best guy. And so they went out for him, or they're there like a lot of people right now because this guy's got a little bit darker complexion than the next man.
Yeah.
So, so none of this matters in terms of that. It's only there, again, because it's coming. And this is not the only thing I'm sure that they have up their sleeve. So, we just got to buck up and get used to it and stop being sensitive all the time.
Thank you.
No, we don't.
Yes,
There's no
we
such
do.
thing as getting used to it.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Because we could have easily gotten used to never having a black president. We could have easily gotten used to never being able to share the same bathrooms as the people that we work with every single day.
Yep.
But we didn't get used to those things.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
no, there's no such thing as getting used to it.
Thank you, Jasmine.
We need to be proactive instead of reactive, following this situation, because we've never seen anything like this before or in this particular form.
Thank you. Did you hear that, J. Real? Did you get it?
See, I was like one thing they say this law. I see a law in Alabama where the Secretary of State is required to issue a photo ID to all registered voters at no cost, regardless of your situation. I think that's something they should implement nationwide. I mean, like I said, what does a ticket got to do with me voting? What does my child support got to do with me voting? Honestly, I go so far as to say, what prison sentence that I served previously, what does that have to do with me voting? I still don't understand that one, that I'm a felon so I don't have the right to vote. I sat in prison for 10 years on the taxpayer's payroll. I think I got just as much right to vote as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree. Like, there are some things in place, like I said, that certainly can be addressed. But again, I disagree that they're exclusive. It's the nature of the beast, if you will, and they're coming. Like I said, they obviously passed in a lot of states, in a lot of states that they even come in harder. And so yes, these harder measures need to be checked, and it needs to stick to more so get an ID and prove who you are, and you can vote. That's where we should be with it. I like I said, I don't agree with all of these extra little things that they're putting in here. It should be real simple. Show me who you are. Prove to me. You say who you are, and then you get a vote. Because all that other stuff doesn't matter. Whether or not you've been in jail doesn't matter. Whether or not you got some tickets in the past doesn't matter. Whether or not you can't pay your child support on time, none of that stuff matters. That is a part of the trickery, but the ID. But
the trickery of the enemy.
Do you agree that there is some trickery taking place?
Of course, there always is.
What do you think the reason is, though, for that?
Why?
Since it's not the same reason we all agree with, what's your reason for it?
I think it's a part of getting uneducated people out of the voting pool. That's what I think the reason is.
Who's usually our uneducated voting bloc?
I think the uneducated voting bloc hits all races, and I would say because most of the other races are in a larger population than we are, it's really hurting the other populations more than it's hurting us. It's hurting the uneducated white voter because they're a lot more numerous than the uneducated black voter. It's hurting the uneducated Hispanic voter because their numbers are increasing tremendously. So I think it's hurting all races. It's not exclusive to us. That's my point. It's not about us. It's about uneducated people being pushed out of the pool because they don't read, they don't know what's going on. Again, they're just, hey, my buddy said Buddy was black. What? Is he black? Oh, okay, let's go do this then. That's who they're looking for. Or my buddy said that, the other boy isn't black. What? He's black. We got to get him out of office. It's that mentality that I think that they're trying to get rid of. It's not exclusive to any one individual. It's for the uneducated voter, the voter that doesn't read the newspaper to realize laws are changing and you just can't show up and go, my name's Billy. Can I put my name down?
Really?
It's trying to get rid of him too.
Really?
It's not about It's not about James. It's about Billy. It's about James. It's about Jose. It's about all them.
I think it's wrong to put any law to try to get rid of any voter. Just because they're uneducated don't mean they got the right to vote. They uneducated self got the right to go down there and put anybody in there. If they want to put the executive producer of Hee Haw down as a president, that's their right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they are exercising that right, the same right that we as educated voters have.
Exactly.
No one should be disenfranchised, even if it is across all races. It's still wrong.
Yes.
But I'll just make this point here that the people that this bill is targeting are uneducated minority voters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just clear. It's clear as day. I understand if you don't see it, but it's clear as day.
He doesn't see a lot of stuff.
I know.
We're working on them, though. We're trying.
Nah, man. My eyes are open, but my eyes have a broader spectrum. That's all.
Oh, okay.
My eyes have a broader spectrum. You know, like I said, it's bigger. It's bigger than one guy. It's bigger than one guy. That's the biggest point. It is bigger than one guy. These things will be coming down regardless.
You're right. It's bigger than one guy. It's just about a whole group of us.
Whole race of folks.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah, who's trying to vote for one guy?
That's right. See, you just admitted it. They're doing this because they don't want us voting for President
that
Obama.
One guy.
That's what it is.
I'm telling you.
We're going to do everything we can because we know Billy Bob is more, well, I can't say that. but I would say most poor people are more likely to vote for the Democrat than they are the Republican. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
That's just traditionally how that voting bloc votes.
Right.
And they know this. Therefore, the laws. None of this was happening in 2004.
No.
And it's evident who's creating these laws. Our legislatures can show us. It's public knowledge. You can go on any website and pull up who's voting for what laws. And who voted for this particular law in the state of Florida? It would be our Republican Party. We only have one black legislator that, well, is a Republican besides Ms. Jennifer Carroll because she's the lieutenant governor. But it's all Caucasian legislators who are Republican.
And I won't disagree with that. Like I said, they are
your
Republican
people.
law. My people.
Your people.
I have said this many, many times before.
For the listeners out there, I just want y'all to know J. Real is black. He is a black man.
Again, I understand.
Most days, at least.
Yeah,
Most days.
He didn't sneak on WOKB and pull us in here. My brother is African American.
He is definitely not on the yellow team either.
That's all right. Y'all gonna be okay. Let me introduce another little topic in here too, though. Obviously this week, and I know Ms. McCrae's talked about this before, so I'm sure she was excited to see this. But Mitt Romney released his taxes this week as well. Mitt Romney released his taxes this week as well. I know you saw this, Ms. McCrae, did you not? You saw that he released his taxes, I know.
Did I see that?
You didn't see that, Mr. McCrae?
Oh, no,
You missed that? Oh, my God.
That's 11%, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was not 11%.
14.
It was approximately 14.1 or 2% that he paid this particular in 2011 anyway. He paid about 14.1%, and then he also released a summary about 20 years, if I remember right, that showed that he paid on average about 20 some in the low 20s over that particular 20-year period. So now everybody knows his taxes. But the interesting thing to me is he did have to manipulate in order to get to that 14.1%, because he donated or had charitable contributions in a little over $4 million, I believe. But he only claimed a little over $2 million to essentially be able to get an effective tax rate of 14.1%. And so, of course, he took the liberals pounded on that to suggest, he had to manipulate it in order to do so, because had he claimed his full $4 million, he would have paid less than the 13% that he's been stumping, that he's paid 13% tax over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. So now we know. Mm-hmm. Do you have any comments on that?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed?
My opinion of him has not changed. He said it in his own, that tape leaked exactly what he said and what he means. And that's it. He's about the money. That's it.
I agree. And he's furthermore convincing me as a voter that it took him this long to release that information. I mean, we're literally a month away, you might as well say, from making our final decisions. And it took him forever to release this information to us. He's just further stating, that the president is correct, that he's not paying his fair share, his cronies and his partners aren't paying their fair share, and they need to be paying their fair share, because I, as a middle-class citizen, should be paying more than what he's paying as a millionaire in taxes. It's ridiculous.
But don't you agree that how much he pays in taxes is not something that he created? It's something that the legislation, the tax code that already existed prior to him even being interested in running for president, created. So is it really? Do you blame the person for taking advantage of the benefits that the tax code allows you to, or do you get mad at the tax code?
No, not at all. But it's evidence that proves the reason why we need to go with the president's budget plan, though, that this individual has been paying less than his fair share. And he's been able to do that under the tax code that's been created. Now we are in a different day and time where things have changed completely for our economy. We need to change that tax code, and we need to make sure that it's equitable all the way across the board. So he had a great time while it lasted, but it's now time for you to start playing fair.
407-894-1680. Well, I agree with you. I think certainly the tax code needs to be changed, but let's be honest here. The biggest issue that most people have, especially the other side, with the president's suggestion of the last suggestion he made was like a minimum 30% tax rate for people that would certainly fall into Mitt Romney's tax bracket. But he has no real explanation as to how that 30% would be applied. There's no real explanation if there was some deductions that were going to be taken away from them. So even in his plan, there's really a lot of flaws that really haven't been answered to quote unquote solve the problem. I mean, it sounds good and it sells very well, but there really aren't any real solutions or hard evidence to show how what he says is going to be backed up. Even if you mentioned his budgets. Even Democrats aren't voting for his budget, so they can't be that great if you can't even get your own people to vote for them. So what's going on with that? That's my biggest question in relation to all of that. I don't think people paying their fair share is a bad idea, but you haven't defined what that is. You haven't described how that can be accomplished, and then we demagogue Republicans for being these bad people, but Democrats just alike aren't really stepping up to really jump behind these ideas with votes as well. So it's both sides. It's not just one particular side. Any comments on that, Ms. Jasmine?
So you're being facetious right now, huh? I would say that in part I do agree with what you're saying. We haven't seen it as black and white as I'm sure you'd like to. But there are things that we know we have to pay for, and that is continuing Medicaid and Medicare. That is, in some cases, expanding his health care plan. Money I'm pretty sure would be going to contribute to that. And then our debt that we're dealing with. We already know that a lot of that money that'll come in can go directly to that debt. Even if he doesn't tell us anything else, wouldn't you be happy seeing that debt go down?
I think everybody would be happy to see that debt go down. But to believe Democrats, and that includes the president and any other Democratic person within Congress, are going to truly come up with a plan that's going to do anything to trim the deficit, assuming they got an extra flow of cash. Just like I don't expect Republicans to do a whole lot, I don't expect Democrats to do a whole lot either, because at the end of the day, as the money flows in, what you notice more often than not is government budgets go up. You see defense budgets go up. You see congressional offices, the candidates, you see their offices budget go up. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing with these funds. So again, we're Republicans. We hate Republicans, and I get it. Everybody hates the Republicans, but at the end of the day, they're not making these decisions alone. When Mitt Romney, is allowed to pay an effective tax rate of 14.1%, it wasn't Republicans in Congress that created the deductions that he's able to take advantage of to allow him to pay such a small amount. It wasn't the Republicans alone that came up. Mitt Romney makes a lot of money off of his capital gains. It wasn't Republicans that exclusively came up with the idea that capital gains tax should be taxed lower than someone who gets paid a salary. These ideas aren't just Republican ideas, but we always place them there without realizing that it's a wholehearted problem of Congress, not just some particular party. And I think that's where we get short-sighted, because we're focused on party and not focused on the agenda at hand, which is where I think we're all lost a little bit, and where we're all not really pushing even the candidates that we like. My biggest criticism of President Obama is he talks all the time about the problems, but he very rarely provides solutions that not only he can get Republicans behind, but even Democrats. Yeah, he got the people. The people are with him. They're going, 30%. Yeah, we get you. But he can't even get Democrats behind 30%, because the truth be told, most of those Democrats are taking advantage of the same policies that are allowing Mitt Romney to pay 14% in taxes. And so they don't want to see that go away either. So it's not about him. It's just easy because they have control to say it's the other side. They're the ones. But, it's everybody. All of y'all the problem. All of y'all want to keep y'all tax breaks. All of y'all want to keep y'all deductions. It's just Republicans the only one brave enough to say that they do.
I think that Democrats are going to be willing to step up and at least compromise, come up with a plan that they can all agree with. Republicans, you're right, they're stronger. They're a stronger party in the sense that they stand firm, and they stand firm together. If one doesn't like the plan, then they all don't like the plan. That's one thing that I'll say Republicans have, and they do it very well, and we've seen that very evident as it relates to extending the tax payroll, and having Congress meet for hours upon hours, literally until the final hour, to decide on compromising and putting together a plan that would not stop the entire nation from operating. But I think Democrats are going to be willing to come together and compromise where Republicans will not. So, yeah, they don't want to see those tax breaks go, but they're willing to do something because they know that the demographic of people that support them and the constituency base that they represent need the assistance.
Booyah.
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 There's a magical comment of the night. Booyah. All right, Mr. Craig.
I don't even need to say anything. I need Jasmine every Tuesday. You just need to come on and call every Tuesday. Help me stick it to J Real, please.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like fighting a war in there.
You going to say something, Jeremy?
No, I just wholeheartedly agree. That's all. Now, I would say this. I'm not necessarily mad at Mitt Romney. It's part of the game. We play it. Lord knows we all try to get as many deductions as we can, so we can't mad because he's playing on a bigger level. But
that's another point I make. This is not new. This is something all Americans do. They take advantage of everything they can to pay the least amount of taxes possible. So it is what it is. And like I said, you say the Democrats are more willing to compromise. I'd have to disagree with you on that. I think Democrats, when they had control for the first 2 years of the president's office, 2008, 2009, and then going into 2010 there, I think they showed that they were more than willing to push back and show solidarity with each other if that's what it took to get their agendas across. They only now are compromise because, again, they're on the opposite side. They gotta kind of work with the other team if anything's going to get accomplished. But one thing I recognize is, compromise comes from the idea, though, that if you're going to compromise, you have to bring ideas to the table that the other side is at least going to like. And I think that's one of the Democrats say they want to compromise, but when you look at their proposals, I don't hear the proposal that offers a window of opportunity for the other side to join on board. It almost seems like, especially you go back to the healthcare bill, it was almost our way or the highway, to the point where they were, encouraging people just to vote, don't even read it. That's not important. The idea is important, not what it says. And so, we put this thing into law, which is something that had we been under Republican-controlled Congress, we'd be up in arms that they would do something like that. And so, again, it's both sides. I'm not here to tout Republicans, or Democrats for that matter. I think, again, both parties need to be held accountable for the irresponsibility that they have placed on us as Americans over the years. And even now, if you vote for the president, good for you, go and vote for the president. He's a great guy. Seems very nice. But we should also we should also put some demands on him beyond some of the rhetoric that he gives us. We ought to put some demands on the people that are going to be there to influence him to do something different.
The president, though, we need to be putting some demands on our own political party too.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Put demands on those people.
Well, we as voters first have to cross over one hurdle, and that's the voter registration laws that we're dealing with now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then once we get through that, now you have to understand that the band of people who are working together and who are educated voters, it's a small number in comparison to those individuals who are going to get out and vote because we've given them a cheat sheet to go to the polls. And then you've got that other group of voters who are just not even thinking about voting. They're trying to survive and could care less who's in office, and don't realize that who they vote for attributes to the lifestyle that they're currently living. But I think that we need to start holding our party accountable. And there are people in other groups that hold those Republican members accountable and make sure that they vote the way they want them to. Mm-hmm. So there's some accountability on our end as well. I agree with you completely. We have the power of influence, but it's a small band of people who are working together to get that done. There's not a large group of people out there trying to make sure that this happens, and there's a small group that they're trying to fight too many battles right now. It's a lot, but I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just a lot going on for a small group to handle.
That is something that we can definitely agree on, Ms. Jasmine. We can definitely agree. We can definitely agree on that, we like I said, whatever party you represent, I really could care less what party you represent, and who you're voting for. That's not really neither here nor there. As long as you vote, that's all that matters, is that you go out and cast a vote for somebody. But whomever you choose, some kind of responsibility need to be placed on those individuals, so that they are not only just supporting one particular party, one particular idea, that they're at least willing to come to the table, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take compromise from both sides in order to solve the nation's problems, which we need to put a demand on all congressmen, whether they're in the state level and the national level, to do something about the exploding budgets that are going on across states, as well as the national government. And that's one thing that I, like I said, the only thing I'll give them credit for is at least Republicans are at least willing to have that conversation, and willing to at least offer some kind of cuts, which I think is ultimately what's going to need to happen. I think cuts are going to need to happen. In my opinion, I believe taxes are going to eventually have to be raised on everybody, not just the rich. And so, in order to truly, tackle these problems, because I believe they're really bigger than what they're telling us, and they're never going to tell us the truth of how serious of a problem it is. But the pressure has to be there. The people need to speak up. They need to do what they can to encourage their congressmen first, who will then eventually place, hopefully, they do the right thing and place some pressure on the president, whomever that is, whether it be President Obama, or, President Mitt Romney at some point if that happens. But pressure needs to be placed on them to then support these change of ideas that these congressmen put in place. And even on the state level, pressure needs to be placed on even Governor Rick Scott from the legislation to support ideas that change, because we have budgets shortfall in most states across this country. So everywhere is bleeding, everywhere needs a change, and how that change occurs needs to come from some kind of compromising solution from both parties, regardless if one is dominating or not.
Vote Romney.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
So you said President Obama last week.
See?
No,
Wow.
I've never said. Well, I used to say it
no,
until I read the bill, which is on my like page. You can check me out, Mr. Micah King, Facebook.com. I have the entire bill, and I am highlighting in the Obamacare bill where it speaks about the chip.
Micah King, just last week you said
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
We can replay.
You better be glad I can't pull that audio.
I had the audio on my page. You can find it, Mr. Micah King, on Facebook. I am not supporting Obama and Obamacare as long as it's in Section 402C.
because of the chip.
I have because of the RFID chip that will be implemented. I'm not supporting Obama. Only reason I might support what's his name? Romney. Mitt.
He said moron.
Mitt Romney.
You got it right.
Mitt Romney is because he's saying he's getting rid of Obamacare. I have it all on my page, people. Mr. Micah King.
He just said he's getting rid of Obamacare. That don't mean.
Well, I mean,
I think certain stuff.
The Bible tells me that it's inevitable.
I'm about to say certain stuff,
but I'm not going to help it. I'm not going to help it.
Like he said,
just because
if he gets in, he may repeal that. But don't think that legislation coming down with that chip is going away.
Right.
Well, I'm not.
Right.
That's one thing that I know.
That was the thing we all agree.
Be implemented.
That chip thing is just something that's
going
to happen.
I think it's just sad that they're going to let the black man do it. Like, that's so messed up in my opinion.
They got to blame it on somebody.
And that's why they put the black man in office.
I don't believe that it's the black man and it's the black man's chip, so let's put it in his bill. Don't think that Romney Care won't have a section in there that talks about that bill also.
Yeah, it's going to be in there.
Of course it will.
And
but they won't.
And he talks about the chip. Then what you going to do? You can't rescind your vote.
At least I can say I hate Whitey.
Okay. Okay.
We have an uneducated voter on our hands.
Okay.
You get the nail on the cover.
All right.
He is a commenter. He's definitely a commenter. Miss Jasmine, we get ready to wind down. I appreciate you calling in and joining us
Thank
tonight.
you, Jasmine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Very informative. I appreciate it.
FAMU Rattler /BCC. Oh, okay.
BCU.
BCU. You went to both of them. I know you know.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So, kind of winding this down, again, at the end of the day, voting is important. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Cast your vote for whoever you want, but make sure you cast that vote. No matter what state you in, go check the laws. Be educated. Find out if your state has a new law related to voting. Find out if your state has any new laws that may affect your life, for that matter. Find out about the candidates who are up for election in the district that you're going to be voting in, and just educate yourself on what is going on. There's even a lot of amendments that are going to be, especially in Florida, a lot of amendments that are going to be on the ballot as well. So go and educate yourself on that. Go to the booth, not knowing who or what color the person is, but go to the booth knowing what at least this person represents. And once you find out that they are aligned with at least your moral thoughts, or whatever it is that you decide to cast a vote for a particular candidate, go out and vote for that candidate. And then beyond that, once you place that vote, make sure that candidate is out supporting the ideas that you sent them to office for. I give it to, I'll just say white people here. A lot of the things that I noticed, just from talking to some of them at work, when they vote for a candidate and that candidate didn't quite do what they wanted to do, they quit. They send an email. They they write letters. They make phone calls, which is something we typically don't do. But I encourage us to do that because that's the only way that we're going to really see our voice heard, regardless, again, of who you vote for. If you're not talking to them, if you're not communicating with them, if you're not showing them that you're listening to what they have to say, chances are they aren't going to be listening to you. So that is the most important thing. Vote and then follow up to make sure they did exactly what they said they would do to make you want to vote for them. I know we're kind of winding down, so let me go ahead and shout out the contacts here. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Real Family Talk. Go and like our page. We're right around breaking that triple digit mark. So go and like our page. Help us out.
Everybody go like the page.
Facebook.com, Real Family Talk. Go to the website, realfamilytalk.weebly.com. Again, realfamilytalk.weebly.com. That's WEEBLY.com. Go to the YouTube page. Check out all of the past shows. They're up there. Real Family Talk, again, is the name of the channel. And check us out on Twitter. Go to Twitter. Become a friend on Twitter as well. Again, at Real Family Talk. You guys have any closing remarks for me tonight?
Vote Obama.
Yes.
That's it.
Don't listen to what Jay Real is talking about.
I understand.
There's nothing wrong with being proud of yourself.
When
with who you are and where you come from.
When everything goes down, you're gonna
say it loud.
We should have listened.
I'm black and I'm proud. So when all goes down, you better hope you know Jesus.
Hey, hey now.
That's who I'm voting for. When can I get his name on
I think the president should be the last of your words.
You're gonna vote Jesus. You're gonna write him in on the ballot.
I mean, you know, I know one thing. Jesus would not support gay marriage. Alrighty.
Oh, okay. Jesus wouldn't support a lot of things.
Vote Obama.
But that's all right.
What you say?
I said Jesus wouldn't support a lot of things.
I know he wouldn't support gay marriage.
Yeah.
I know that.
There's a lot of things said those who oppress,
by any chance, did you see the president and his wife on The View today, though? I did want to talk about that. Now that I liked when he was talking about his daughters and Hannah Montana.
Yes.
Now that one had me laughing. He's a very personable person, but people in the shadows still have their agenda that will be upheld regardless.
In the shadows?
Yeah, the same people that put this on the law that's telling you, okay, black people, we don't want you to vote, so we're going to do this, that, and the third. The people in the shadows came up with that agenda. They're the ones that you don't see. Lady Eloise is the name on the box. But the people in the shadows are the one who run everything.
I like that, Mr. King.
You see the people.
I like that, Mr. King.
You see the rappers, but you don't see the people behind the scenes that's actually ghostwriting.
Lady Eloise. Marcus.
Mr. King is always going to keep you laughing and rolling. He is
going to keep you informed.
He's going to keep you informed.
Conspiracy theory.
A little conspiracy. A little conspiracy. But he's definitely going to keep you informed. All right, we're going to go ahead and close out this evening, and we will see you next week. This is your host, Jay Real, signing off with Real Family Talk.
Night.
It's time to get our praise on, that's right.
With Gospel 1680 WOKB.
It's time to go in. You know what time it is. It's time to get our praise on. We're getting ready to go in.
Your urban empowerment and inspiration station, Gospel 1680
WOKB.
Is all that I am. That's okay. And all I wanna get is all that I can. But that's all right. If you have it all and you lose it all.